Okay, so a very good evening, guys. Before we start, can you all hear me? Yes, is it clear enough? And can you all see a screen as well? All okay? Yes. Okay, so I think there is way more to come, right? So just want to check with you all. So in case you have friends on the group, right, who has not yet joined, can you all maybe give them a call or something and remind them, right? So today's class is at 4:30 because syntax has another class at around 6:45. So they asked me the account at 6:30. So that is why I'm starting early today, right? I don't think it will happen next week. In case they have another class, it might happen, but next week probably it'll be from 5 to 7. So just today only, the class will be from 4:30 to 6:30, right? So just give in a call maybe if you have friends around, right? So and then friends in the sense friends on the beyond the classroom group, and once they come, let's say I'll wait for maybe 2 more minutes and then I'll start, right? So just to let you all know where we are at. Okay, one more thing, guys. I just want to let you all know, right? I usually don't add students in the middle of a unit because sometimes when students come from the middle, they might not understand things, right? So because if I have explained a theory part, let's say in a 2012 question, if the question is repeated, I will not touch on that theory part again. I'll just simply give in a thing from top. That is why attending all classes is compulsory and is mandatory, right? Because if not, if you have not come to a previous class and you all have not learned that theory, in maybe another question, by the time we come to, let's say, 2018, 19 and 2020, I would have covered almost all the parts of that unit, and I'll simply go faster then, right? So there is no point missing the first few classes and then coming towards the end, you will not understand anything, right? So that is the main reason I don't add students from the middle. But only this week I did, right? There were a few, I think around 10-15 students I added, but I will not be adding anyone anymore, right? So don't tell any of your friends that they can join now. They can join when I start unit number 4, right? So I'm doing unit number 2 and 3 these days. 2 and 3 will take around another 4 classes, I'm guessing, right? So somewhere around another 4 classes to finish all the MCQs and all the part 2 questions. And then um, when we start unit number 4 past papers, they can join, right? So that is that. Okay, there's only 123 people today. Last time I think there was around 200. So don't know, is it because of the time? I'll just check. Right. So whatever said and done, that is up to them to come or not. So I'll start on this, right? We'll start with 2013 for today, and we'll go on. We'll see how much of questions we can do, right? We'll do the most of it, and we'll finish by 6:30. So I'll finish sharp at 6:30 because I have to give the account at 6:30. So today I will not stay and clear any doubts, right? If you all have doubts, ideally we'll have it. We'll clear it off next week. So not this coming Sunday, ideally the Sunday after that. You all might have an extra class at night for this. So not the 13th of December, maybe the 20th of December, right? So 20th of December, somewhere around from around 7 p.m. onwards, might go on till around 10 o'clock. You might have an extra class to discuss these past papers. So just letting you all know now itself. Okay, so that's that. Are we good to go? Everyone okay? Everyone is fine? Right, so have a past paper book with you and also have a CR book with you, right? So like I've said, explained before, don't write anything on your past paper book. Write the things on your CR book. Write the question number, write the answer number. If I'm giving an explanation, right, write that down as well somewhere. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with the 2013 question. Okay, so once again, right, 145 of y'all. So while I discuss the question, while I read out the question, if I'm hoping you all have already answered the question, give me your answers, right? So you all can send it to everyone on the chat, or else you all can send it to me. So depending on how many people give me the right answer, I know to what extent I have to explain the question. Okay, so even if someone else has dropped the answer, that's okay. You also given your answer. Only then I know that a lot of people have actually understood the question. Okay, right. So starting with question number 5, 2013 A levels, unit number 2 and 3 MCQs. So question number 5 says, the diagram shows the market demand and supply curves for a product. Which area measures the total amount consumers would be willing to pay for the equilibrium level of output? What is the amount that they are willing to pay? Now, this is a concept that comes with, it is relating to, consumer surplus, and it is all of that. You'll have to understand this very carefully, right? So how exactly does this work? Now, OQ here is the equilibrium quantity, right? OQ, this distance is the equilibrium quantity, right? Now, if you look at this very, very carefully, right? To buy the first unit, right? Let's say Q is 10 units, right? To buy the first unit, the consumer is willing to pay. How do you find that? You connect it to the demand curve. He is willing to pay this much. To buy the second unit, he is willing to pay this much, right? Let's say to buy the third unit, he's willing to pay this much. But because of equilibrium, how much does the consumer actually pay? He only pays the price of P. He's willing to pay a higher price, but because of equilibrium, he only pays this amount, right? So that is that. Okay, no option to chat with everyone. Okay, right. So that is there, right? So this is the amount that he actually pays. But are they asking what the consumer is actually paying? No, they're asking what is the amount the consumer would be willing to pay. He is willing to pay which amount? He is willing to pay this entire amount. He is willing to pay this entire portion. But what does he actually pay? He actually pays only this blue box. That is why this triangle on top, right? This triangle on top becomes consumer surplus. Remember that. How consumer surplus, if I know whatever teacher who would have taught you all, right? When he was teaching consumer surplus, he would have given you the logic behind it. Why exactly do we call that triangle on top consumer surplus? That is because the consumer is willing to pay this entire green trapezium kind of shape thing, right? But because of equilibrium, how much does he actually pay? He only pays this area here. He only pays this box. So because of that, this small triangle on top becomes the consumer surplus. But in this question, what are they asking? They're asking total amount consumers are willing to pay. They're not asking for the total amount consumers are paying. They're not asking for consumer surplus. They're asking what is the amount they're willing to pay. So what is the amount that they're willing to pay? They're willing to pay, okay, EQ, this one. Answer number 5. So in case you want to jot a few things here, right? So amount consumer actually pays, right? So amount consumer, okay, amount consumer is willing to pay, right? How much is he willing to pay? He is willing to pay that part. That is 0, K, E, and Q. Amount he actually pays, right? Amount actually paid, right? How much is the amount actually paid? The amount actually paid is that box there. That is OPEQ, right? So therefore, right? Therefore, what is his consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is what? The consumer surplus becomes the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. So which part is consumer surplus? Which part? Can you all give me the letters? Yes. K, exactly. KPE. That triangle there is consumer surplus. So this is the logic behind this area, right? So I'm hoping that part is fine. Question number 5. Okay, 2030. So moving on to the next one. I think question number 6. Can someone check and tell me why have I omitted question number 6? Is it my mistake or is question number 6 from a unit 1 question? From 5, I'm directly going to 7. Have I forgotten to put 6 or have I not put 6 because it's a unit 1 question? Unit 1? Okay, so then that's fine. We would have maybe done it before, right? So jumping off to question number 7, 2013. Question number 7, 2013, right? The table below shows cross elasticity of demand for the product of 5 companies with respect to the prices of their closest substitute. Right. Cross elasticity A, B, C, D, and E, they've given cross elasticities and they're asking you, according to the information, the company likely to possess the greatest market power. Now, how are we going to figure out based on cross elasticity? How are we going to figure out market power? What do you all think the answer is? Shall we try out a poll? Okay, if you all have answered, okay, give me a second. Okay, can you all put in your answers? 166 people of y'all. Yes, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. This is 2013 question number 7. Guys, just put in whatever answer you what you think. Okay, so only 30 have answered so far. Yes, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Okay, 40 out of 160 only. Yeah. No, can't hear, guys. Okay, 60 of y'all. Okay, so this is actually taking time. You all are very slow in answering. Okay, so once let's say 100 hits, we'll be saying there is 94 responses, 95, 96, 97. Okay, others 98, 99, 100. Okay, so I'll stop it there. Okay, so this is how you all have answered, right? So 64% of you all say the answer is number 5, right? The others are somewhat split between 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the correct answer is actually number 5, right? So I'll explain how does this actually work, right? So coming back to this. Now, if you look at this question, remember when we said cross elasticity, okay, I think I explained this one part before. I said when XCD is positive, it is this, XCD is negative, it is that, right? I explained that somewhere. Where is that? XCD, no. It's positive, I said it's a this good, negative, this good. Maybe. Okay. So I'll get a copy of this and I'll explain this again. Okay. We are in 2013 question number 7. We are here. Right. So if you look at this question, they're asking you which one has the greatest market power. So now think carefully. To have market power, should you have close substitutes or should you have distant substitutes? What do you all think? If someone has a lot of close substitutes, do you think he has market power then? Right? Let's say if the product that I am selling, let's say there are so many people selling the same product, a lot of close substitutes. Do you think I have market power? No, right? So if you have close substitutes, right, you're selling something and others are also selling something very similar to you, will you have any market power? No. Why? Because you can't charge the price that you want, you can't really do anything. But when you have distant substitutes, right, then you have market power. Now, for example, think of something like the Sri Lanka railway industry. Now, if you look at the Sri Lanka railway industry, they don't have any close substitute. No. Do they have another private company providing railway services? No. What do they have? They have you have public buses, you have three wheels, you have things like that. But you don't have what? You don't have another private close substitute. So therefore, companies like the Sri Lanka Railway Authority, right? They have distant substitutes. So they have much more market power. So then remember, when your cross elasticity is greater than 1, you have close substitutes. If it is less than 1, you have distant substitutes. Exactly, like the central bank as well. Okay. So according to this question, right, now less than 1, there are 2 companies that have less than 1. So company D has less than 1, company E also has less than 1. Now, how are you going to figure out which company has the greatest market power? To figure out who has the greatest market power, you have to figure out whichever company is more closer to 0. The company which is the closest to 0 has the highest amount of market power, because the higher your cross elasticity, that means you have more and more substitutes. So if your cross elasticity number is very much low, what does that mean? Having a very low cross elasticity means you have much market power. So what is the answer there? It is number 5, company E, right? So that is the logic behind that. So remember, when your exceed is less than 1, you have distance substitutes. Having distance substitutes means you have market power, right? So Ceylon Tobacco, Ceylon Electricity Board, Sri Lanka Railway Authority, right? They are distant substitute. They don't have much close substitute, so they have much more market power, right? So that is question number 7. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is an easy question. Now, this is something I explained last class. So, for people who joined newly, you might be a little lost. So, that is why I don't take people newly, but try to adjust, right? So, last class we discussed PED and we discussed elasticity, right? So, total revenue of a firm will decline when what happens? I think you all wrote this down as well. Remember, you all. I asked you all to write down. Some of you all put screenshots also, right? So according to this, what will happen? The total revenue will decline if the price rises and supply is elastic. Remember, we don't really look at supply, no? So we can cut that off. We are looking at demand and we're looking at elasticity. So then number 2 says price falls, demand is elastic. So if price falls and demand is elastic, then the total revenue will increase. So TR will increase in this case, right? Now, don't ask me how. I explained this last class. Answer number 3 says price rises, demand is inelastic. So if price rises, demand is inelastic, again, total revenue will increase in this case also, right? Refer what we did last class if you're not sure. Then in option number 4, it says, what does it say? It says price rises and demand is elastic. So if price rises when demand is elastic, what happens? The quantity demanded falls by a greater proportion. As a result, the total revenue declines. So answer number 4, the total revenue actually declines. And then price falls and demand is generally elastic. Can you all tell me what happens to total revenue in the 5th option? Does it increase or decrease? Price falls and demand is unitary elastic. Does total revenue increase or does total revenue decrease? What happens? Sure? Constant? Exactly. When it is unitary elastic, what happens? Whether price increases or decreases, total revenue will not change. Total revenue will be constant, right? Example, if you all are unclear, please go and refer what we did last class. So the answer here is number 4, right? That is the answer. Okay, hoping everyone is fine. Then coming into this question, now this was a very tricky question. I don't think it depends on how you answer this question. They say X is an inferior good. A decrease in income will do what of this? What do you think? X is an inferior good. A decrease in income. Okay. Now there are actually 2 ways of approaching this question. The 2 ways you approach the question will give you 2 different answers. So one way is to logically try to figure this out. Logically, for an inferior good, if income decreases, what happens? Right? Income decreases means you buy more of it. Right? So something like, let's say, a fan, inferior good, your income has fallen, so you buy more. Your demand increases. When your demand increases, right? So I'll say demand, right? When the demand increase of a product, usually what happens? The price increases, right? Price increases. When price increases, what happens? Quantity demand decreases. This is this is how they have got the answer. Now, if you have drawn a diagram for this, you will get this wrong, right? Now, if I draw a diagram for this, right? Now, this is why I said this is a tricky question. I don't think most of students would have got it right during this year. Okay, so if you draw a demand curve, you draw a supply curve, right? So, a second. Okay, you have a demand curve, you have a supply curve, you have equilibrium price, you have equilibrium quantity. Now, for an inferior good, if income decreases, what happens? The demand would increase. right? Rightward shift of the demand curve. Demand curve shifts rightwards. So then this criteria is met. Demand increases. What happens to price? This is the price axis. Price increases. Fine. But if you look at this, the quantity demand, the QD also has increased. But here, according to what I explained the other way, it says quantity demand decreases. So now this is where you have to, now this is a very tricky question. If you answer it using the diagram, you will say increase demand, increase price. Is there an answer? Increase demand. If you use the diagram, you will say answer number 5. But logically, if you try to answer this, right, logical way, if price increases, what should happen? For an inferior good, remember, inferior good also complies with the law of demand, right? For an inferior good also, if price increases, what happens? Quantity demand will decrease. So when price increases, so you go with this approach, go with the logical approach for this question, right? Don't go with the diagram. If you go with the diagram, you will not get the answer for this question. So don't use the diagram, right? So this is a very tricky question. Now, even let's say if I went to A levels and I wrote it, I will not be able to figure out, right, whether it is which of this. Income decrease, demand decrease. Income decrease, demand decrease for a normal good. But here they're saying inferior good. So they're saying inferior good here. So inferior good is things like, fans, let's say, something like that. So if your income decreases, what happens? If your income decreases, you buy more than. When after income decrease and quantity demand will keep on increasing. So this is the inferior good. And that is why I think you all would have messed it up, right? First, you all have to know it's an inferior good. Inferior good, if your income decreases, you buy more, right? So your demand will increase. Increase in demand. So you can't go with these answers. This answer is cut off, right? I cut off these answers. Not number 1, not number 2, right? So not number 4 as well. It has to be between 3 and 5. In 3 and 5, the difference is this. This says decrease in quantity demand. This says increase in quantity demand. If you use the graphical approach, if you use this approach, you will get the answer as number 5. But if you use the logical approach, logically, if you know for an inferior good, that also complies with the law of demand. So it goes according to law of demand. So if the price increases, quantity demand has to decrease. So that is why I'm going with answer number 3 there, right? So it's a very tricky question. I'm telling you once again, usually you will not find questions like this always. In case you all did not really get the question, that's okay, right? Don't try to think too much because this is somewhat of a tricky question. There's 2 ways of looking at it, but this is the correct way of looking at what I have boxed, right? Fine. Yes. Yes, the 5th one will be acceptable if the 3rd one is not given. If they have not given the 3rd option, right? If the 3rd option is not there, then maybe you can go with the 5th one. Based on the diagram, you can say, okay, this is what happens. But since they have given a 3rd option, you had to go with that 3rd option there, right? That is the logic there. Okay. Done. So guys, in case you're not really not sure, right? So maybe, I don't know, as far as I know, my diagram is correct, right? I don't think there is a mistake in my diagram. But if you are, really think, I also would like to clarify this, why you get 2 different answers from 2 different approaches, right? So if you really want to, maybe you can try testing your teacher, your school teacher, try asking that person, draw this diagram, right? I hoping you all understood the diagram, right? Maybe draw the diagram and explain to her and ask how does quantity demand decrease. So just check with the teacher what approach are they using and what is the thing. Yeah. So according to me, you have to go with this approach, right? That is how you get answer number 3. Fine. So in case you all do check, will you all let me know within the week or maybe by next class? Yes. Can do. Okay. Right. So going into question number 10. Question number 10 says, suppose the market for oranges is currently in equilibrium. If the supply of oranges decrease, while at the same time, the demand for oranges increase, what can you say about the price and quantity of oranges? Now, to figure this out, you have to draw the diagram. Without drawing the diagram, you can't figure this out. You can't memorize this, right? So how do we do this? We draw the diagram, right? So we draw a demand curve, we draw a supply curve, right? We have equilibrium price, we have equilibrium quantity, and then you have this. They're saying if the supply of oranges decrease, so supply decreases means a leftward shift, right? So I'll draw the new supply curve like this, right? So a leftward shift of the supply curve, right? Supply decreases. Then they are saying while at the same time the demand increases, right? Demand for oranges increase. Okay, demand increases. Okay, so my diagram is a little bad, but try to cope with that. Okay, demand increase. So according to this, what has happened? Now this is the new equilibrium price. This is the new equilibrium quantity. So what has happened? You can definitely say that the price has increased, right? But the quantity you can't really say. Why can't you say the quantity has increased or decreased? Now, according to how I have drawn the diagram, the quantity is remaining constant. But let's say I draw the diagram this way. Let's say, right, look at this very carefully, right, without drawing the diagram like this. Oops, okay. Now, okay, now look at this properly. Without drawing the diagram like this, if I drew my demand increase, okay, that thing to do, right? So you have this. Okay, let's say this was the decrease in supply, right? Decrease in supply. And then let's say demand increased by a lot. Then what would happen? This would be the equilibrium price. Now the quantity has increased. If I increase demand only by a very little, like let's say a small shift in the demand curve, still the price has increased, but now the quantity has decreased. Now in this question, are they saying that demand is increasing by a greater proportion than supply, or supply is increasing more, or are they saying is it increasing by equal amounts? You can't, right? You can't really say what exactly is happening to the this thing. Is it changing by the same proportion, or is it changing by different proportions? Yeah, so then if that is the case, right, so whatever way we drew the diagram, we were sure that the price is increasing. Quantity, right, it can either decrease, it can either increase, or it can even remain constant depending on how much the change is. So therefore, we go with the answer number 2. Price rises, but the change in quantity is ambiguous. What is ambiguous? The meaning of ambiguous means you can't really say, not sure, right? That is what it means. So it can either increase, it can either decrease, or it can stay constant. Is that part clear? Yes. Shape. Yeah, I think it was a easy question, not that hard, right? Okay, so that is that. And also guys, if you have answers, ideally maybe try to send it privately without on everyone, right? So then maybe if someone is figuring out, he or she can do it alone and try to come with the answer. Okay, so now this is also a question that comes with something I taught last class, PED and elasticity. Now they say question number 11, suppose the price elasticity of demand for cigarettes is less than 1. What does less than 1 means? Inelastic. When an excise tax is imposed on cigarette production, it changes the price, quantity, and consumer spending in which ways? What happens here? Does the spending increase? Does the spending decrease? Or what happens? Now, first thing you all have to know, they're talking about a tax. There is a demand curve, there is a supply curve, right? Demand curve, supply curve. So you have a equilibrium price, you have an equilibrium quantity, and now when there is a tax, what happens? The supply shifts to the left. So when supply shifts to the left, what do you think happens? Number one, that happens, the price increases, quantity decreases. Price increases, quantity decreases. So then eliminate all the other answers. That does not say this. Okay. price increase, quantity decrease. So according to this, you can eliminate answer number 1. Price has to increase now. Answer number 1 and 2. Quantity, what has to happen? The quantity has to decrease. So we can eliminate answer number 5 as well. Okay, now we are left with 2 answers. What happens to consumer spending? Does the consumer spending increase or does the consumer spending decrease? Inelastic, right? Think. This counts with my thing last class. Inelastic, price increases. Question isn't visible. Question is visible, right? Okay. Inelastic, what happens? Inelastic, if price increases, what really happens? Inelastic, price increases, consumer spending also increases. In other words, total revenue also increases. Remember I said last class, consumer spending and total revenue works the same way. So in other words, right, when the price increases here, the consumer spending also increases. Refer to whatever thing that you all wrote down last class. Answer number 4, right? That is how that works. Okay, question number 11. Then moving on, see now from that what I taught you last class, there were 2 areas tested, right? So that's why I said that PED and total revenue thing, they never directly tell you that, right? But a lot of questions actually come. If you have understood that PED and total revenue part properly, you can answer a lot of questions. So get that thing properly, what I discussed last class, right? Okay, coming to question number 12. Okay, question number 12. Suppose the government sends each parent a coupon that can be used to subsidize the cost of sending each child to daycare. What would you expect to occur in the market for daycare sales? Now, this is a tricky question again. Okay, so I'm hoping you all have the question 2013, question number 12. Right. Can you all let me know what the answer is? What do you all think the answer is? Okay. Once I get 100 answers, I'll stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I want more answers. Y'all are very slow in answering. Y'all are supposed to send this before. Y'all are supposed to do the question before and come, not think of an answer now. Yeah, what do y'all answer? Please don't check the book and let me know the answer because there is no point. Okay, 87 of y'all have answered, 89, 92, 93. Can you all see how many people have answered? No? Can you all see the count going or am I the only one who sees that? Okay, no. Right, so 112 of you all have answered. I'll end it, 114. Okay, so if I'm to share the results. So most of you all say that the answer is number 2. So 53%. That means 47% think something else. So out of the, I think 114 of you all answered this question. So that means only very few have got it right? So most of you all have got it wrong. Now, why I said this is a tricky question is because of this. Usually, right, in your syllabus, when we talk of subsidy, what do you all think? Subsidy affects supply. But here you have to be very careful. They are not giving this subsidy to the supplier or to the producer. They are giving subsidy to whom? They are giving this subsidy to the consumer. Suppose the government sends each parent a coupon that can be used. So subsidize for the cost of sending a child to daycare. So who is the parent here? The parent is the customer of the daycare. No, he is the consumer. The parent is the one, he or she is the one who sends the child to the daycare. The daycare is the supplier or the producer, right? The consumer is only the parent. So whom are they giving this subsidy to? They're giving the subsidy to not the daycare, they're giving it to the parent, who is the consumer. So this is a subsidy on consumers. So then what do you think happens? Will it affect the supply curve or will it affect the demand curve now? What do you all think? If it is a thing given to the consumer, supply curve or the demand curve? Exactly. It would affect the demand curve. So if you have a demand curve, if you have a supply curve, when a subsidy is given to the consumer, what happens? The supply of, right? Not the supply, the demand for daycares will increase. The demand for daycares will increase. Then what happens? If the demand for daycare rises, right? What do you think happens to the price? This was the earlier price, earlier quantity. Now the demand has shifted to the right, because why? They have given a subsidy not to the producer, to the consumer. But remember, usually in your syllabus, they question the sums and all comes on subsidies to producers. This is why I said this MCQ is a little tricky. So they have given this to the consumer. As a result, what happened? Price increased and also quantity increases. So answer number, now what is the answer? Answer number 2. The demand for daycare rises, increasing the price. Yes. All those who got it wrong, did you all understand? Yes, I'm hoping you all did. This is not for those who got it right. Who got it wrong, I'm hoping you all did understand the logic behind it, right? So try to get that thing. So maybe next time you all get a question like this, you all will not make that mistake again. Okay, done. Okay, good question. Little bit of a tough question. What is necessary for consumer surplus to be zero? Demand is perfectly elastic, demand perfectly inelastic. What do you think happens? When is consumer surplus zero? Consumer surplus is zero when what happens? When the demand is perfectly elastic. So how do you figure out consumer surplus? Think of the logic behind consumer surplus. You have the, okay, I can't draw a demand curve like this. I'll draw a demand perfectly elastic demand curve and a supply curve. Now, if you look at this, how do you find consumer surplus? It's the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. So what is the equilibrium price? This is the equilibrium price, right? This is the equilibrium price. So this is the equilibrium quantity. For example, to buy a lesser quantity, right? He is willing to pay this much. He actually pays also that much. So there is no actual surplus. To buy a quantity, right? He is willing to pay, let's say 10 rupees, right? 10 rupees. He actually pays also 10 rupees. So what is his surplus? Remember the first question I explained. What is the consumer willing to pay and what he actually pays? That difference is only consumer surplus. So in this question, he is willing to pay also this much. He actually pays also this much. So the consumer surplus is actually zero here. So this is the answer. So when demand is perfectly elastic, you all can draw the diagram for the other situations and see in those situations you will not get a zero consumer surplus. Only in this, when demand is perfectly elastic, what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays is equal. As a result, there is no consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is zero. Okay, that is that. Remember that. Okay. Okay. Question number 14. There will be a simultaneous increase in both price and quantity traded in the market for a normal good due to price also has increased, quantity also has to increase. Due to what? Removal of an effective maximum price, technological progress, imposition of a tax on the good, granting of a subsidy, decrease in price of substitute. What happens? When will the price also increase and the quantity traded also increase for a normal good? Okay, shall we look at each situation? This is a good question. Covers a lot of areas. Answer number 1, removal of an effective maximum price. Let's say there was a maximum price. What is maximum price? Right? You have a demand, you have supply. Maximum price is where the price is set below equilibrium. You set at a price there. Maximum price has been set. So when the maximum price is being set, this is the price. Let's say 5 rupees. This is the price. Let's say this is the quantity. Let's say quantity is 100, right? 100 units. So when you remove this maximum price, what happens? When the maximum price is removed, right, you go back to equilibrium. So at equilibrium, maybe your price is earlier, let's say maximum price was 5. Now let's say price is back at 10 and the quantity, let's say, is now at 200. So what has happened here? When you have removed the maximum price, what happened to the price? It was earlier 5, now it went to 10. Price increased. What happened to the quantity traded? Earlier the quantity traded was 100. Now the quantity traded is 200. So the quantity also increased. So what are they asking the question? They are asking, there will be a simultaneous increase in both price, so increase in price and quantity. So this answer gives you the correct option, right? Answer number one, removal of an effective maximum price. If you remove the maximum price, the equilibrium price also will increase, the quantity also will increase. So that is the answer. But I'll look at the other answers also, and I'll show you why does that not be the answer, right? They say technological progress in the production of a good. So when there is technological progress, let's say there is, okay, help me out. This is the equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. When there is technological progress, which curve will shift leftwards or rightwards? Which curve will shift? Where? What will increase in simple terms? Is it the demand curve? Is it the supply curve? Is it increasing or decreasing? Okay, supply, right? Supply increasing or decreasing? Exactly, supply shifting to the right. So when there is technological progress, what happens? The supply curve, technological progress in the production of a good, supply will shift to the right. So this is the rightward shift in the supply curve. So when the supply curve shifts to the right, what happens? The price decreases, quantity increases. Does it answer the question? No. In the question, they're asking increase in price increase in both price and quantity. So not number two as well. If you look at number three says imposition of a tax. Now tax is very easy. You all know what happens in a tax. In a tax, what happens? Price increases, quantity falls. So you have a tax, right? Supply, sorry, demand and supply. When there is a tax, what happens? This curve shifts to the left. So then what happens? Price increases, but the quantity falls. So again, this criteria is not met. Number 4, granting a subsidy. So when you grant a subsidy, what happens? Second. Okay, when you grant a subsidy, so you have your demand curve, you have your supply curve. This was equilibrium price and quantity. When there is a subsidy, supply shifts to the right, right? As a result, what happens? Price reduces, quantity increases. So again, is it meeting the criteria? No, again, it's not meeting that criteria. Then number 5, decrease in the price of a product substitute. So what will happen? Will the demand curve shift or the supply curve shift? In number 5, you have demand. Sorry. Okay, you have the demand curve, you have the supply curve, you have equilibrium price and quantity. If the price of substitute decreases, what happens? The demand will decrease. Why? People will go and buy the substitute. So demand shifts to the left. So now this is the new equilibrium price. This is the new equilibrium quantity. Price has fallen, quantity has also fallen. So only which gives you the answer. Answer number 1 is the correct answer. See, according to answer number 1, the actual thing comes. The price also is increased, the quantity is also increasing, right? So what you all have to do in a simple thing like this, there's nothing that you can really memorize an answer. So what should you do? You have to actually draw the diagrams. Draw the diagrams and see in which of these diagrams is the price and quantity both increasing. So this is covering a lot of areas. Whether you know the tax diagram, whether you know the subsidy diagram, whether you know the minimum price, whether you know how the demand and supply curve shifts, right? So it covers a lot of areas. That is why I drew all the diagrams. Okay, done. Then, okay, no next question. That's it. Is that it, or have I missed any question? Are we done with 2013? Can someone check 2013 question number 5? Is it from unit? No, not 5. Question number 15. Is it unit 2 or 3? No, right? Should be unit 4. Unit 4, no? Okay, so we'll move to the next thing. Right. 2014. So we're done with 2013. Okay, just wanna check with you all. Okay, small poll, right? So remember this very carefully. Answer the poll according to this. If I am too fast, you put number 1. If I am too slow, you answer number 2. If you think the pace is okay, right? Same pace. Okay, if you think the speed is good, right? So if I'm too fast, you answer number 1. If it's too slow, you say number 2. If it's good, you say 3, right? Remember, fast is 1, slow is 2. Yeah. Okay, so wait, I'll launch the poll. You can answer on this. Okay. 1 is too fast, 2 is too slow, 3 is okay. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Sorry, 1, 2, or 3. There is not 5. There is no 5. Okay, 200 of you all. I want you all to answer quicker. 1 is too fast, 2 is too slow, 3 is okay. Done. 150 of you all have answered. 1 is fast, 2 is slow, 3 is good. Shep? Okay, 162 only. Other people having fun? No? Okay. So back to this. Okay, to share. Okay, if I am to share the results. Okay, so most of y'all think that I'm okay, 78%. So I'll continue with the same speed, right? So some of y'all think that 30 of y'all think that I'm too slow, right? So I think for just the, sorry, too fast, right? 30 of y'all think I'm too fast. So what you really can do is maybe do the questions before and come. Do the questions before and come, mark your questions and come. And then when I discuss, I think you should be okay, right? So that is for that 30 of y'all. For the, okay, one person by mistake click. So 5 of y'all think I'm too slow. So I think that is a good problem to have, right? So if you think I'm too slow, that means you're really good at the unit. So congratulations on that. So don't worry, be a little patient. We'll go with how the others are coping up with it as well. With time, I will increase the pace. Okay. So people too fast, try to do the question beforehand and go through the unit and come. Too slow people, good thing. Other people, fine. We'll go with the same thing. Okay. Okay, back to this question. Okay, 2014 A levels. Okay, easy question. The demand equation for a particular good is as follows: QD equals 200 minus 8P. What is the value of coefficient of price elasticity of demand of the good when the price is 10? How do you figure this out? Okay, what is the equation that we use? Right? So we have to say, remember, PED equals the B component minus B multiplied by, right? Minus B is only change in QD over change in P, right? Over price over quantity demand. So very simple calculation here, right? From where do you get this minus B component? This component is this one. Remember QD equation, QD equals A minus BP. So B is minus 8, right? How do you figure out the price? They have given in the question, price equals 10. How do you figure out the quantity demand? So at 10, you have to find what is the QD. So how do we do that? You substitute and you try to find, right? So QD equals what? QD equals 200 minus 8P. Now you put 10 and see what is the QD. So 200 minus 8 into 10. So 8 into 10 is 80. 200 minus 80 is 120. So then how do we figure out the answer for this? So here you say, instead of B, remember, you have to say how much? Minus 8. Where does the minus 8 come? From that plot. Minus 8 into what is the price? The price is 10. What is the quantity demand? That is 120. So now you solve this. Once you solve this, you will get an answer. So this is minus 80 divided by 120. In other words, 3 divided by, no, so 2 divided by 3. So you get minus 0.66. Remember, it's not plus 0.66, it's minus 0.66. Why? Because your B component is minus. Your B component will always be minus, right? In PED, remember, answer is always minus. You will not get a plus answer. Since the answer is always minus, sometimes you ignore the minus sign. But here, since they have given a minus 0.66 and a plus 0.66, the correct answer is minus 0.66. In case they have given this without the signs, without the minus signs and the plus signs, then you could have answered 0.66, a plus. But here, since they have specifically given minus 0.66, you have to go with this answer. Don't go with anything else, right? Answer number 2. Easy question there. Okay, direct theory. Price elasticity of demand measures what? Responsiveness of quantity demand to a change in a determinant of demand, responsiveness quantity demand to a relative change in the price of a good. Okay, so this is a very easy thing, right? Nothing to explain, comes from the definition of what price elasticity of demand is. right? So what exactly is price of demand? It is measuring when the price of a good changes, right? By how much will quantity demand change? The responsiveness of quantity demand to a change in price. So number two there, right? So answer number two, easy one, comes from your definition. Okay. Going on to the next question. Okay. Again, comes from PED and total revenue. Supplier expects to increase the revenue by increasing the price of his product by 10%. You can even forget that 10%. How can you increase revenue by increasing price? What should demand be? Should it be elastic, inelastic, or what? So to increase revenue to and increase price, your demand has to be inelastic. If your demand is inelastic only, if you increase price, revenue will also increase. So inelastic means what is your PED value? Your PED value should be less than 1. So if your PED is less than 1, that means you're inelastic. What does that mean? When the price increases, your total revenue will also increase. Logic I have explained last class. Right? That is why I took time and explained the entire logic last class so that you all would get this, right? Yes, I'm hoping you all were there last class. Yes, answer number one. Otherwise, it would be Greek, right? Yeah, you all, most of you all were there, right? Last class, yes, no? Was there no? Y'all, I'm hoping you all did understand that part. I reviewed on the board and thing. So refresh your knowledge there in case someone has joined newly and you are lost. What you can do is, one you joined newly because of your friend recommended. No, so ask that friend to teach you. That friend would teach you that part. Okay. Now, question number 10. So question number 10 says, price of agricultural products such as potatoes and big onions are high during certain periods of the year while very low in other periods of the year. What is the main reason for this? What do you all think? If you look at things like now, you don't have to even think too much. Think think the practical context. Potatoes and onions. Is it an essential good or a luxury good for you? Essential or luxury? Potatoes and onions. Essential, no? You usually almost whatever you make there is potatoes and onions, no? Short eat that curry, even in something you make this thing. So for essential goods, what is your PED? Is it elastic or inelastic? Remember, for essential goods, it is inelastic. So if it is a essential good, even if price changes, you don't change your demand much. It is inelastic, right? Because you need that good, no? You will not change. So inelastic demand. Then think what is potato? Potato and onions are agricultural goods. Now, when the price of the agricultural good change, remember, I don't know, for whoever who came to my theory class, revision class, when we changed prices for agricultural good, can you increase the output today itself? No, right? Let's say price of potatoes increase. Can you increase potatoes today? No. It would take some time for you to increase the supply. You have to grow the potatoes, right? You have to do a lot of things there. So therefore, when it is an agricultural good, what happens? The supply is inelastic. You can't change the supply that easily. So this becomes the answer. Because of the reason of inelastic demand and inelastic supply only, the price of agricultural goods keep on fluctuating, right? Because you can't change. So even let's say, people want more and things like that, you can't really change. So the price keeps on fluctuating in these conditions, right? So number 3, there's a nice question in why exactly this happens, right? This was tested in 2019 in an essay question. Why does the price of agricultural goods keep on fluctuating? So then I'll explain the logic behind it. For now, just remember this part. 2019 question number 3, I think subpart 3 or 4. I think subpart 3 for the sure. Why does the price of agricultural goods keep on fluctuating? Right? Well, I'll explain that then. Okay. For now, this is the logic behind it. Okay. Then coming to 2011. Okay. Assume the demand and supply curves are linear. What is the correct answer that shows equilibrium price and quantity? Right. Yeah, in 2014, question number 11. Easy question. Can you all okay, do you want me to disable the public chat? Okay. Participants can chat with host only. Okay, so you can send messages only to me, right? Guys, you all are supposed to one thing, try to do the question beforehand and come, right? I'll just disable the host chat with everyone for now, because while you all do, the answer is coming. But from next week, try to do the question beforehand and come. What do you think the answer is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I just want to check. People on a laptop, when I put a poll, can you see the question behind as well, or can you see only the poll? How can you see this? Can you see the question and the poll both? Yes. I think phone people, you can see only the poll. People on the phone, only the poll. No. People on the laptop, I think you all can see both. Yeah, that's right. So better to come on a laptop so you can see both and then you can work with it. So most of y'all say answer number 3, 89% of y'all. Phone also can see. Okay, nice. I don't know. I really don't know, but okay. So most of y'all think it's answer number 3, so that should be the answer. We'll work with this and see, right? So 84 of y'all, right? 89% say it's this. Looks good. No, it looks like, this, remember in Lakshapati, they have this, ask the audience. So this is like me doing ask the audience. I asked what is the answer and you all reply and I go with the better answer. Okay, so then, you have this. Okay, question number 11. I'll tell you an easy way to do this. I don't know. Some of you all would have made the demand and supply equations, right? And then say QD equals QS, and then you all would have done it. That is the long way. What is the easy way to do this? Anyone? Easy way? There's an easy way to do this. You don't have to make the demand and supply equations and do that. So what you have to do, remember, right? This is a linear demand curve. So when there is a linear demand curve, what should you do? You have to remember that this happens the same way. Now, if I am to, I'll get this small part here. Okay, I can't really look at, okay, I'll try to figure out. So this is price. They've said price is 80. And they've said, oops. What is linear demand curve? Linear means straight line. So this is straight line demand curve. Oops, I have only questions until 2015. Okay. So according to this, right? If you all are okay, what exactly can you all do? Right? So what you all can do is you all can do this. So you have price. Give me a second. Why did my phone? Okay, you have price. I'm just showing the shortcut, guys, in case you all are not sure. Right? So price, then there is demand, and then there is supply. Give me a second, my board is stuck. Okay, we have demand and we have supply. So according to this, they have given you only 2 points now, right? Yes, through the equilibrium price and quantity, you can use the equation and find it, right? But then you have to know in a linear demand curve. Now remember, in your syllabus, all the curves are linear. You don't have curved demand curves. No, you only have a straight line demand curve, right? So 200 and 1000. So what should you do here, right? You have to, you have to get the difference. Can you see? Price is changing by 20 and 20. So go that way. So you can go 60. Demand is changing by how much? Demand is changing by 200. 200, 400, then this should be 600. Supply is changing by again 200. 1800, then this will be 600. So can you see you get equilibrium here? So you can go one step on this side also and see. So 120, then demand will be 0. Quantity supplied would be 1200. So as long as you can just look at your demand curve on top, you can, with a pencil, you can draw it and you will be able to figure it out. So can you see at price 60, you at equilibrium, demand and supply is equal. So you can directly come into an answer there, right? But yes, some of you all might be knowing this, but some of you all might, make the demand and supply equation and then say that is equal to that and then take time. Is that how you all did, or was I just assuming you all did that way? Did you all make the demand and supply equation and then find 60 and 600? Okay, how do you do using the equation? Okay, so if you are to do the equation, so that comes with your another basic knowledge. So how do you make the demand equation, right? So demand equation, so you find this is the B component, right? Then you have to find the A component, you have to find the QD equation, you have to find the QS equation, then say QD equals QS and do it. That's a little longer one, but that is what most people know because of the fact that it's that is what you all get in part 2. No? Okay, this one, easy one again. Suppose the supply equation for a particular good is given as QS equals 100 plus 10p. A 5 rupee tax was imposed on this good. What is the supply equation after the tax? What happens? So how does the supply equation adjust if I'm just to show it once, right? So how does the supply equation adjust when you have a tax? Okay, there is product. Okay, there is something here. I try to, okay. Adjusting supply equation. Font is too small, no? Okay, you make this a little big. Okay, so how do you actually adjust your quantity supplied equation? So QS equals A minus BP. When there is a tax, what happens? When there is a tax, QS equals A minus B. What happens there? P plus T. Plus T. As you all can leave early, no issues at all if you all have anything. Sorry, not P plus T, P minus T. P minus T, right? Yeah, don't confuse me also. Okay. Q. Sorry. A plus, A plus, A plus. A plus BP and P minus T. So what exactly do you do here? Now you have the equation QS is equal to 100 plus 10. So now what is your tax? You're putting a 5 rupee tax, right? So what is 10? P minus 5 now, right? P minus 5, and you solve this. QS equals 100 plus 10 into P, 10P, 10 into minus 5, minus 50. So then 100 minus 50, you get 50. 50 plus 10. That is how you solve this. A very easy question to do. Yeah, that is how you adjust the supply equation. Done. Question number, okay, that's it. Guys, question number 13, can you all check? Is it from this paper? No. Sorry, this unit 13. Maybe unit 4. Unit 4. Okay, so then this paper is also done. Coming to question 2015. Okay, 2015. Okay, we'll do this and then I'll give you all a small break. Okay, 2015. If the demand for milk powder increases whenever person's income increases, milk powder is an example of what type of good? It's easy as ever, right? So it's a normal good. If income increases, right? Income increases, demand increases, normal good. So income increase, sorry, not demand increase. If the income increase and your demand increase, it's a normal good, right? Same way the opposite also. Income decrease and demand decrease. If it has a what positive relationship between income, then it's a normal good. So this is a normal good. A inferior good will work the other way around. So I'll not write what an inferior good thing is. Inferior good is where when your income increases, right? When income increases, your demand decreases. When income decrease, demand increase. Remember, we did a diagram there. So for a normal good, it will have a positive relation. How do we say whether a good is a normal good or whether a good is a what inferior good? Based on income. If your income increases, you're buying more of it, means normal good. If your income increases, you buy less of it, means it's a inferior good. So very easy thing. Essential good and normal good is the same. Not really the same, but to some extent essential good comes under normal good. Yeah, numbers necessary. So under, there is no necessary answer here. So norm, remember, based on YED, if your answer is positive, you get a normal good. If the answer is positive and more than one, right? If it is greater than one, we say luxury good. If it is less than one, you say essential good. So here they have not really said essential low. They have not really said this thing. So we go with normal good. Okay. Answer number 5. Easy as ever. Okay. At a given time, when demand increases and supply decreases in a competitive market for a normal good, what happens? So draw this and figure it out. Otherwise, you all can't actually really say. So how do we draw this? You draw a normal, okay, you draw a, okay, I'm trying to draw a straight line, okay, better. Draw this, okay, demand, supply, you have equilibrium price, you have equilibrium quantity. Just give me a second, there's a mosquito, okay, caught. Okay, they're saying demand is increasing and supply is decreasing. So demand is increasing, rightward shift. Okay, demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. So supply is going to the left. Okay, so according to the diagram I have drawn, what has happened? Now this is what we did last time also, right? Demand increase, supply decrease. What has happened? Equilibrium price is increase. So if you connect this down, quantity is constant, right? But remember I said they have they said are the demand and supply increasing by equal quantity? No, they have not said increasing by equal quantity. So let's say your supply can increase only by a little, like that. You see a small shift in your supply curve. Okay, hard to draw the diagram, but okay. If I draw supply curve like this, if I draw it like this, price is increasing, quantity is also increasing. So quantity can increase also, quantity can remain constant also. If I draw the supply curve like this, then the price is increasing, then the quantity is decreasing. So the quantity, price for sure will increase, but the quantity can either rise, can fall, or even remain constant. So depending on how you draw the demand and supply curve. If the demand and supply curve are changed by the equal proportion, if demand and supply increase and decrease by the same proportion, then remain constant. If it is different, then either it can increase or decrease. So in this question, are they saying that it is increasing or decreasing by same proportion? No. So you really can't say what happens to quantity. So the change in quantity is ambiguous. It can either rise, fall, or remain constant. So answer number 5, right? So this thing, if it is like this, the quantity will remain the same. If it is, let's say, a very small shift, okay, a very small shift, the quantity can fall. So quantity can increase. It can increase, it can remain constant, it can decrease, but whatever said and done, the price will increase in all 3 situations. So that is why we go with answer number 5, question number 9. Okay, done. Okay, easy question. Question number 10. Suppose, okay, sugar and jaggery are considered as substitutes for each other in many consumption activities. Therefore, if the price of sugar rises, we would expect what? If the price of sugar rises, so if price of sugar rise, what will happen? Quantity demanded of sugar will fall, right? So people will buy less sugar. So people will buy less sugar in the sense they will switch to a substitute. So what will happen? The demand for jaggery will increase. You know what is jaggery? Hakuru hakuru. In case you all are lost, I don't know the Tamil word, but yes, right? So if the price of sugar increases, right, quantity demand of sugar will fall. So people buying less sugar means what happens? The demand for jaggery will increase. Okay, I'm getting the name also, right? So answer number 1. Okay, the demand for jaggery to increase. A very easy one, right? So I don't know which year. Okay, 2015. Paper seems very easy, no? Yeah, Karupati. Done. Okay, nice question. I like this question for some reason. Question number, think a bit. You will, if you use your brains, you can figure the answer. Difference between quantity demand and demand. Quantity demand is when you say when a price changes, it's quantity demand. When it is a change in other factor, it is demand. So why did I say quantity demand of sugar will fall? Because the price of sugar is falling. Price of sugar is increasing. As I said, quantity demand. Why did I say demand here? For jaggery, the price is not changing now. It's another factor that is changing. That's why I said demand here and I said quantity demand here. Remember, change in demand, change in quantity demand basics. When will quantity demand change? When the price of that good change. When will demand change? When another factor changes. So for jaggery, it's the price of substitute, which is sugar, that is changing. The price of jaggery is not changing. That is why I said demand here, right? So simple things, don't think too much there. Okay. Okay, this question. It's a nice question. Suppose that PED of demand for coconut is -1. When the price of coconut is 60, the quantity demand is 500. What will be the price of coconut when the demand is 600? How are you going to figure this out? How can you do this? What is your logic behind this? If you didn't know one small part, you can't do this question. Exactly. The logic behind this is it's unitary elastic. PED -1. Unitary elastic. When it is unitary elastic, what did we say? The total revenue will not change. Even when the price changes, the total revenue will not change. So if I am to look at this price, right? Price, quantity, demand, and total revenue, right? Give me a second, let me make it big, right? So if you look at this, right, they have said price earlier was 60, quantity demanded was 500. So what is the total revenue then? 60 into 500, someone? How much? 30,000? Yes, I'm not mistaken. Okay. So in this, what happens? When the price, when the demand is 600, so what you have to know, even when the demand is 600, remember that is because of a change in price, no? So whatever said and done, the total revenue here will not change, no? When price changes, total revenue will not change. So your total revenue here is still 30,000. So now you work backwards. So if the total revenue is 30,000, if the quantity demand is 600, so how do you get price? Price equals this into this. Price into QD is only total revenue. So from the total revenue, if you divide it by 600, you will then get the price. So price is 50. That is how you get that answer. If you did not know this part comes from the total revenue part, what we learned last class, when it is unitary elastic, total revenue will not change. But how if it is not unitary elastic, right, to get constant? If it is not unitary elastic, I didn't try the question out, but I think if it's not unitary elastic, you don't have enough change in QD over change in P. No, if it is not unitary elastic, you don't have enough information to calculate. So you can try with the PED equation, but you don't know the quantity and then you don't know the change in quantity. Sorry, you don't know the change in price. You know the price, you know this thing. Is it -1? Yes, -1 is unitary elastic, no? Okay, I'm getting some question marks also. Where did the question marks come from? Yeah, so this is how you approach the question. Anyone any lost? Unitary elastic? This is an easy way to approach the question. Fine. It's -10. No, I think -10 should be a mistake. This should be -1.0, not -10. Answer will be number 3. Unit elastic is 1. Yes, 1 or -1. So remember I said PED, price elasticity of demand, what is always what? The price elasticity of demand is always minus. So guys, 1. If it is less than 1, it is inelastic. If it is 1, it is unitary. If it is greater than 1, elastic. So remember, PED is always minus. So that is why sometimes we ignore the minus, right? So don't forget that. PED 1 means unitary. Forget the minus part. 1 is unitary, right? So that is how the answer comes here. So this explanation comes from what I taught last class. Last class I said if the demand is unitary elastic, the total revenue will not change. So for that you should have come last class. You would have understood why this is 30,000. So I'm using this logic and I'm working backwards and finding the 50. That is how I'm doing. You can't calculate. If it is another question, you have to calculate using this. You have to use the PED equation. PED equals change in QD over change in price, right? Change in price into this, right? Okay. Okay, you can't really do, if it's unilastic, you have to use arc PED also, but I don't know, just check how did your teacher do it. They can't do it this way as far as I know. Product, it's not that easy to do it this way. This question has not given enough information. Multiplied by, why don't I get multiplied by price? If it is another way, you have to do it using this equation, but in this question, there is no data to do it using this equation. So they have given you, okay, if you look at the question, right, PED is given -1, right? So you can do this, right? Change in QD they have given. QD goes from 500 to 600. So this is given. Change in price you don't know, right? This part you don't know. Then again the price also you don't know. QD you can use if you want. So two unknowns are there. So you really can't use this equation and get the answer. As if they have given you what the QD equation, then you could have got this entire component, the minus B part. Then you could have figured that out. But here I don't really think you can use this equation. So you have to go with this knowledge here. Yes, that the total revenue will remain constant. 2016 question number 9. There's a similar question where we have to use PD equation. Okay, so that question I'll discuss the PD equation. Okay, 2016 one. Question number 11 done. Okay, guys, comes from the total revenue part. -1. Okay, if you do this, the price. Okay, you're using the so. Okay, you use price at 60, but then again, now remember when you calculate PED, you're calculating PED at one point, right? So which point is that? Now, if you remember, right, you have a demand curve, right? The right middle, right? Right, okay, I have to draw this. At this point only, at this point, PED is equal to 1. So at this point, it is greater than 1. At this point, it is less than 1. So I don't know, just try with your other thing and see, but see if you get the correct answer. As far as I know, you will not really get an answer. This, what the approach I used is a better way. Now, I think if you try to put 60 and if you try to put 500, you will not really get it because you're not doing the right one. And one more thing, when it's unitary elastic, you have to calculate using arc PED. You can't calculate using point PED usually. Unitary elastic, you calculate using arc PED. There's a thing there as well. I don't know, for my revision students, I think I explained that part. PED is -10. Guys, PED is not -10, PED is 1. It's -1. There is a decimal here. I don't know if your textbook has printed it wrong. It's not -1. I've got this. This is the original paper from the Department of Examination. I've screenshotted that and put. So I don't think this has a mistake. So it's not 10, it's 1 PED. If it's 10, you can, try to do something. There's another question, we'll do that. Okay. On 2016. But for this question, remember, this is the logic. I'm not wrong. This is right. Answer is 50. Can someone tell me, does the textbooks, that what past paper books say a different answer? No, right? It says 50, no? Does it say a different answer? Anyone? Does it say 50? Past paper book? Yes? Says 50, no? Okay, so that means I'm right. So just check, I don't know, just try to put your numbers here, right? I didn't check with this, right? So put, some people wanted different numbers here, right? So try to check that. I don't know, a lot of people confusing me also. Okay, my way is correct, right? So stick with this. Answer is correct, but they've given PED as 10. PED is not 10. PED, that's your textbook mistake. PED is 1 minus 1. Okay, it's minus 1.0 PED, not minus 10. Okay, yes. Okay. Question number 12. Easy one again. Which of the following will cause the demand curve for a good to shift to the left? Which of this will cause the demand curve will shift to the left? Type 035 and then press Alt X together. Okay, I missed that part. Okay, which of the following would cause the demand curve of a good to shift to the left? Easy one, okay. Demand curve shift to the left means which of this will cause the demand curve to decrease? So increase in the price of the good, remember demand curve will not change. Decrease in the price of good, demand curve will not shift. Decrease in the price of complementary, when the price of complementary decreases, what happens? Your demand will increase. People will buy more of the complementary and they'll buy more of yours as well. Increase in the price of substitute, if the price of substitute increase, what happens? People would buy less of the substitute, buy more of your good. Again, your demand would shift to the right. And then an expectation of future price to decline. So if you expect the future price to decline, what will you do? You will not buy now, you will go and buy in the future. This is what happens when the new iPhone is out. What do you all do? If the iPhone is out, do you all think you go and buy it today? I know rich people, you all might have the iPhone 11 or the 12, but the others, what do? We stay, no, we'll say 1 year later, we'll say, maybe when the iPhone 13 comes, we can buy it. Why? Because we are expecting the future price to decline. So right now, our demand will fall. Right now, we will not buy it. We will keep our money, we will save it and keep later. In the future, we know when the price falls, we will buy. So if the future price is going to decline, right? If you have an expectation that it would decline, you would not really buy now. What would you do? You would buy in the future. Because why? Future is cheap now. So therefore, in the fifth case, what happens? Your demand curve actually shifts to the left. When you expect the future price to decline, you don't buy now, you buy later. So your demand right now falls. Okay? Question number 12. Question number 13. With a downward sloping market demand curve and an upward sloping market supply curve for a product, a decrease in input price will. A decrease in input price. Easy one, no? What is input price? Cost of production. So you have a demand and a supply curve. Demand curve, supply curve, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, and then they are saying a increase, no? Oh, no, a decrease in input price. So when the input price decreases, in other words, cost of production, when that decreases, what happens? The supply curve shifts to the right. So rightward shift. Now what happens? Equilibrium price falls, equilibrium quantity increases. So what happens? So increase equilibrium. No, what do you think you have here? Number 4, yeah. Number 4 gives you a proper answer there. So number 4, decrease in equilibrium price and increase in equilibrium quantity. Okay, are we done with this? Yes. Okay, we'll do this question, we'll do this paper and then take a break. Okay. Question number 14. A country's domestic market demand and supply curve for sugar are respectively represented by the following equation. QD, QS. Assume that the sugar market is open to international trade and the world price for sugar is 60 per unit. What is the quantity of sugar that is domestically supplied when the country is open to international trade? In very simple terms, what you have to do, at price 60, see what is the quantity supplied, right? You would usually get an answer there. So that is the international price, no? Okay, what should I do here? I will make this smaller. Okay, so QS is equal to minus 80 plus 2p. So if the country is open to international trade, that means the price becomes 60. So then at 60, see what is this thing, 2 into 60. That is all what you have to do. So then the QS is equal to minus 80 plus 2 into 60, that's 120. QS is equal to 40. So just additional things here. So how does this actually work? So when it's open to international trade, the domestic suppliers will supply 40 units. Now see what is the demand at price 60. QD is equal to 320 minus 3p. So QD is equal to 320 minus 3 into 60. That is 320 minus 180. So how much is our quantity demand? Is 140 units there. So can you see that demand is 140 at price 60. The supply is only 40 units. So the balance will be imported. Now, if I want to show this in a diagram, just additional to this thing, right? If you are to show this in a diagram, it would look like this, right? So you would have your demand, you would have your supply, you will have an equilibrium price. So equilibrium price would be higher. Let's say it's somewhere around 100 rupees. But when it is open to international trade, the price is set at how much? 60. This is the amount. So at 60, domestic suppliers are willing to give only 40. This is where this 40 comes. The 40 will come here, right? QD is only 40. QD 320 minus 3 into 60. 180, 320 minus 180 is 140, right? Just check the calculations here. This is 140, right? So then at price 60, this is the price 60. At price 60, the quantity demand will be 140. Quantity supplied 40, quantity demanded 140. So this difference, right? This difference will be how much? This is the amount that is imported. This 100 units, right? This difference is the imported number of units, the 100 units. So at price 60, when it's open to international trade, consumers want 140 units, but at price 60, domestic suppliers are only willing to give at 40 rupees. So that excess demand amount is imported, right? That 100 units is imported. So in case this question asked you what is the amount of units imported, then the answer has to be 100. But they are not asking you what is the imported amount. They're asking you quantity of sugar that is domestically supplied. So how much is it domestically supplied? Only 40 units is domestically supplied. The balance 100 units is imported. So look at the question very carefully. Okay, try to figure out what exactly they are asking. Okay, that is that. So done with this. Okay, last question, question number 15. Okay, again comes with that without the diagram also we can find this thing without the diagram. Yeah, you don't need the diagram. I just explained additionally to the diagram. This question, you only have to do this small part, QS part, and you can find the answer. I gave the diagram to explain how the import works, additional things. Yeah. A second. Okay. This one. Suppose the demand for petrol is very inelastic and supply is very elastic. Excise tax on petrol will. Remember my this thing. Remember my whatever logic. Higher the inelasticity, higher the tax burden. Remember I said explain this somewhere. Higher the inelasticity. I explained this to your batch, right? Or was it someone else? Higher the inelasticity, higher the tax burden. Yes, I explained. I think I showed my tutor also. Higher the inelasticity, higher the tax burden. So if you look at this, which party is more inelastic? Is it the consumer or is it this thing? They're saying supply is, demand is inelastic, supply is elastic. So higher the tax burden. So according to this question, who is inelastic? It is the consumer who is inelastic, the buyer. The demand is inelastic. So therefore, the tax will be borne mostly by the consumers. Small part will be borne by the sellers. They are not saying perfectly inelastic. No, they are saying inelastic, right? So according to that, right, explain last class more heavily on the buyers, right? Whoever who is inelastic, if the demand is inelastic, consumers will pay more tax. If supply is inelastic, the supplier will pay more tax. Okay, question number 16 and 17 is also from this unit. Haven't I included it? Guys, 16. Okay, I've included. Nice. Sorry, 2 more questions I think we have to do. 16 and 17. Okay, we'll do these 2 and take the break. We'll finish the paper. Okay, 2. Question number 16. The graph shows the demand and supply curves in a competitive market for an agricultural commodity. The government wants to promote the production of this commodity and decide to pay producers a subsidy of rupees 2 per unit that they can produce, the consumer surplus after the subsidy. So if they give a 2 rupee subsidy, how much do you think the consumer surplus would be? Okay, so I'll give you all a minute, try to calculate this. Okay, so I've got different answers from different people. Okay, so answer number 3, 90. Yes. So how are we going to figure this out? What are we really going to do? What is the method that you all used? Subsidy of 2. When that happens, what do you think happens now? When there's a subsidy of 2, supply curve would shift to the right, right? So how will the supply curve shift to the right? There would be a shift like this, right? So it would shift this way, a parallel shift, parallel to that curve, a 2 rupee distance. So what you have to do, you have to get a 2 rupee distance here, right? Since there is a 2 rupee tax, and have a parallel shift, right? It has to be parallel to this curve. So then if you look at it, what is the new equilibrium price, right? If you look at the curve very carefully, the new equilibrium price. So new equilibrium price is 3 rupees. New equilibrium quantity is 60. So let me draw that again. New equilibrium price is 3, quantity is 60. How do we find consumer surplus now? Which area is consumer surplus? It's a very easy thing. Consumer surplus is this triangle that is over here, right? So come from your basics of how to find consumer surplus when there is a subsidy. So how do we do this? What is the area? Half into 3 into 60. Yes, that is what we do. So answer will go as half into 3 into 60. So 3 into 60 is 180. 180 into half is equal to 90. Very simple thing, right? Equals to 90. So remember, when you have a 2 rupee tax or 2 rupee subsidy, what should you do? You have to parallelly shift this 2, right? So if there was a 2 rupee tax, let's say, then you have to parallelly, right? Shift it. You go to 4. It should be parallel to this line. That is how it would be. Okay, so be very careful there. Done with that. Last question before we take a break. Question number 17. Right. So question number 17, the price ceiling set below the equilibrium price will result in what? A price ceiling set below the market equilibrium price will result in excess supply, excess demand, equilibrium price, increase in supply, decrease in demand. Simple thing, right? Price ceiling, that means that what that is here, right? You have a this price ceiling is set. When there's a price ceiling that is set, what happens? There is an excess demand, right? So such an easy question there. So I don't know, the questions are getting much easier, right? So I'm not sure if the paper is easier or we've done more questions. So it's an excess demand situation. Answer number 2, right? So some of you all wanted a break. I think I also have to put in the next questions. I've forgotten to put the other questions. So I'll give you all somewhere around, now it's 6:05. I'll give you all somewhere around a 5 to 10 minute break. So say 5 minutes. So come back by 6:10. I'll include the other MCQs also and keep, right? So 6:10, take a 5 minute break, run around, do whatever you want, and come. Yeah. Okay. Break done. Back. Yes. Okay. Small thing. Poll. We okay. If you're back, can you just give in an answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything? Yes, there is a poll. Anything is fine. If you're back, just tap in one. So I get a count. Okay, 30 of y'all are back. Okay, a lot of people went missing. There was 170. Now it is dropped to 139. Okay, guys, if y'all are back, drop in. Select whatever answer that you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 61, 63, 65. Others, no, not back. 75, 80. No. Okay, so there's around 180 people back. So ideally, I'll try to finish the 2016 questions. I'll finish the 2016, and then maybe we can wrap things up. Okay, so today I'll have to finish the class by 6:30 because the Zoom account has to be given out. So okay, 86 of y'all are there. Okay, so back to 2016, right? So we'll do 2016 and we'll wrap things up. Okay. Now in 2016, they say, now here, this is a little bit of a different question. Remember last time we had a question that asked what happened to quantity demand, but here they're asking for what is happening to quantity. So I think this is approached differently. They say, suppose X is an inferior good and sold in a competitive market. So X is an inferior good sold in a competitive market, assuming other things remain constant in the market for X. What are the effects of a decrease in income on buyers on the demand, equilibrium price, and equilibrium quantity, right? So now this question you can approach using the diagram, right? They're asking for equilibrium quantity. So you have a demand curve, right? You have a demand curve, you have a supply curve, right? You have equilibrium, right? So now they're saying it's an inferior good, and what is happening? A decrease in income. So if income decreases, what happens, right? So if income decreases, you will buy more of it. The demand will increase. So when the demand increases, what happens? When the demand increases, what happens? The equilibrium price increases, equilibrium quantity also increases. So in this case, you go with answer number what? Increases, price increases, answer number 2. Yeah, that should be the answer. Can someone check if this is the answer that is there in the textbook as well? Number 2, yes or no? Yeah, okay, so then that is the logic. You go with this. Now remember, same last question they ask you what happens to quantity demand. That is why I use the logical explanation. Remember, at the start we had a question, but here they're asking what is happening to equilibrium quantity, right? So that is why I'm using this diagram here, the equilibrium diagram, and trying to figure this out. Okay, so that is how you answer that, answer number 2, right? So draw the diagram. Usually if you can draw the diagram, you can answer most of the questions. Okay, 2016. Okay, don't tell me I did the same question again. Okay, I think I've copied and pasted the same question. Okay, give me a second until I copy and paste. Okay, I'll share the PDF document. Wait. Yes, sec. Okay, this is the 2016 paper. I'll not put this on my board, but I'll put it over here. Right, question number 8 says, the table below shows the, okay, sorry. Okay, now you can see the thing. Okay, question number 8 says, the table below shows the market demand schedule and supply schedule for a good before and after the imposition of a specific tax on an essential commodity, what was the tax per unit? How are you going to figure it out? What do you think the answer is? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tax per unit. 1. Are you sure that it is this thing? Okay, so I'll tell you a easy way to figure this out, right? So take a random price, right? So take some random price. Let's say we took the price of 14. So check what is the quantity supplied before tax. Before tax is 40. Now see, to supply that same 40, what is the price that they are willing to? What is, at which price are they willing to supply this 40 units? Now can you see, after the tax, to supply 40 units, they need 16 rupees. So this difference is only the tax. This 2 rupees is the tax. This does not mean the change in equilibrium prices too. Don't forget that. We are simply calculating what is the tax. How to find the tax? Take a random price, see at that price what is the quantity supplied before the tax, then see to supply that same quantity. Now in this example, quantity 40 is what I selected, right? At the same quantity, see what is the price that they want. Okay, if you really want the logic, so logic behind this is you can make the supply equation if you want. QS equals something, and then try to figure it out if you really want to. But it's an easy thing, right? So what happens when you have a tax of 2 rupees, right? So this will be the demand curve, this will be the supply curve, no? So let's say this is the thing. So if you have a 2 rupee tax, now earlier, let's say at price 14, let's say this is 14. Okay, sorry, this is 14. You were able to supply 40. But now since the 2 rupee tax, let's say it shifts like this, now at price 16 only, you're willing to supply that 14. So this is how you do this. Can you make the supply equation for this? So supply equation, these guys, I'll not really waste time making supply equation. So simply what you can do is, now supply equation, you have to guess the tax here. You put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and see what really happens. So you don't really have to go that way. You can use this method. Okay. So answer number 1, the tax per unit is 2 rupees, right? So simple method, just to explain once again, what you should do in case they give you a question like this: select a random price. At that price, see what is the quantity supplied before tax. So I selected the random price of 14. At price 14, I figured out the quantity supplied before tax is 40. Then figure out at price, to supply that same quantity, what is the price after tax. So to supply the quantity of 40 after the tax, they want 16 rupees. So that difference is the tax. 16 minus 14, 2 rupees, right? So simple method there. So back to my whiteboard, we'll go into question number 9. Okay, so this is the question where they want you to figure this one. How much will the demand be? So the price of a demand for a ballpoint pen is -3. When the price of a ballpoint, now for this you can use that long equation that we used. I said there are 2 methods. That total revenue thing when we calculated the coconut example, right? So that is that. Can you explain question number 7? Maybe I'll explain it after class. You could have asked me when I was doing question number 7. Okay, so this one I'll come back, maybe if not today, at least maybe next class. Okay. So question number 9 here. Now they're asking you to find what is the quantity demand, right? So what equation do you use? You use the PED equation. Okay, so someone told me how to put the change sign. Can you repeat that? I forgot the numbers. Type something, something, something. The delta sign. What should I type? I don't know. Someone told me how to get the delta sign. No, can't remember. Alt plus 236. Okay. Alt 236. No, that's infinity. I want the delta sign. 0398 and alt X. Okay, so do I press alt and I press that, or how do I press? So alt plus 0398. Okay, now I get a different sign. Okay, 0398 and then alt X. No, how do I get that? Okay, does not work. Then press Alt and X together. Okay, so I try again for one last time. 0398 Alt X together. No, it does not come. Okay, no, something wrong. Okay, so go with my normal equation, guys. Change in QD over change in price multiplied by price over quantity demand. Okay, so in this example, they will give you, you can use the normal this way, because why? It's not unitary elastic. Since it's not unitary elastic, you can use the normal equation this way. So now shall we substitute and shall we try to find values? Yes. So PED they have given. PED is -3 given in the question, -3. You put that. Change in QD, you don't know. You are finding the change in QD. You have to find what is the new demand. So for that, you leave that change in QD, right? Then change in price. They're saying price was 25, now it falls to 20. So change in price is a -5. It reduces to 5. Then what is the price? Earlier the price is 25. The quantity demanded is 300. Can someone solve this and tell me what is the change in QD? Someone? Let's get it quicker. Right? So you're finding out the change in QD here. What do we get as an answer? Change in QD here is equal to 180. Yes. Guys, I'm hoping you all know how to solve this basic thing, right? So change in QD is how much? Change in QD is equal to 180. So remember, this is the change in quantity demand. This is not your final answer. If you give this as what your final answer, you will get it wrong. So this is the change in QD. So if this is the change, they're asking what is the new one. So here you will get, so earlier quantity demanded when the price was 25, quantity demand is 300. Now when the price is 20, quantity demand is how much? Quantity demand is 480. So that will be your answer, 480. So 300 plus the change, right? The change is only 180. So 300 plus this 180 only, we get 480. Why isn't the price 20? So the price is 20 because for 20 they have given you the, sorry, not 20. Why is it 25? Because at 25 only quantity demand is 300. At price 20, you don't know what is the quantity demand. So you can't put that option there, right? So they are asking what is the quantity demand when price falls to 20. No? So that you don't know. So you can't get this. Okay, so if you all are not sure how to really do this, you simply work with the PED equation, right? PED equation is change in QD over change in P into price over quantity demand. So in the question, they have given you values, right? They have said PED is -3. So I put that -3 here. Change in QD, you don't know because they're asking you for the demand. So that you don't know. The change in price, earlier the price was 25. Now the price they're saying falls to 5. So change in price is -5. I put that -5 there. Then they say price 25, quantity demand 300. So I put 25, I put 300. So then I substitute, I work the other way, right? And I find what is the change in QD. So the change in QD is only 180. So quantity demanded when the price is falling from 25 to 20, quantity demand is changing by 180. So when price was 25, QD is 400. When price is 20, QD has to increase, no? So 300 plus this 180, that is how you got the 480, right? So I think if you all have done this before, it should not be that of a hard question to figure out. Okay, that is the working there. Okay, done. Question number 10. So question number 10 is asking you the market supply curve for some good or service would shift to the left when? When will the supply curve shift to the left? Supply curve will shift to the left when? Easy thing, when supply decreases. When will the supply decrease? Supply will decrease when the price of inputs increase, right? Easy thing, direct from your theory. I'm not going to explain the other answers, right? Okay, question number 11. The supply curve of a good X is given by the following equation. Qx equals 6px, where quantity Qx is the quantity supplied, Px is the price. From this equation, how are you going to figure out elasticity? Good question. You need a small theoretical knowledge here. How are you going to figure out how much is PES? You can't do any calculation and figure out it. You can't do any calculation. What is the PES here according to the equation? Remember the diagram. If your price elasticity, if your PES, right, if your curve is like this, right, it's starting from this axis, then what will your equation be? Your equation will be QS equals minus A plus BP. It will be in that format. If your equation is, sorry, not your equation, if your curve is like this, so this is elastic, right? So this is inelastic, right? So here your equation will be QS equals, right? You will have a positive A component, A plus BP. If your curve is unitary elastic, it will go right from the middle like this, right from the origin. And what will your equation be? Your equation will be QS equals BP. There is no A component. A is 0. So if you look at this equation, how do you actually figure out whether it is unitary or not? So then you figure out based on the A component. So in this equation, is there an A component? No, right? It is simply QS equals BP. There is no A component. A is 0. So they're talking of a what type of curve here? They're talking of a unitary elastic supply curve. So the answer here is price plus supply is 1. So based on the shape of the supply curve, right, based on how it looks, if it looks like this green one, it's a elastic supply curve. It will have a minus A component. If it is, starting right from the origin, then it will be unitary elastic. It will be 1, guys. Unitary elastic is 1. Yeah. And then if it is this, if it is the orange one, it will be a elastic supply curve greater than 1. Okay, so that should be the answer there. Easy one. Okay. Inelastic supply curve. No, elastic supply curve starts from a negative value. Inelastic will start from a positive value. So the orange one is inelastic. Elastic will start from a, sorry. This is okay. If you all are confused, guys, okay, you all are confusing me also. This orange one, this is inelastic, right? This is, remember, this is inelastic. This green one is only elastic, right? So this is the elastic curve, this is the inelastic curve. The one in the middle is unitary elastic. Perfect elastic, guys, you will not really have equations. Perfectly, it will be like this and this. So based on that, you can't tell, but based on these three, you can tell what is the type of equation and this thing. I think it's a very basic area. Whatever teacher who taught you would have taught you this, right? So check on the tutes. Okay, you all might have some class tute that you all refer to, right? So check on that tute. Based on that, the teacher would have told you based on how does the curve look and how does this look. Okay, coming to question number 12. Okay, I'll do question number 12 and end it because I have to finish the class at 6:30. Right, so the other questions we'll do later. Okay, question number 12, last question for the day. The diagram below shows an increase in supply from S2 to S1. Okay, after the removal of a specific tax imposed. Supply curve S1 was the pre-tax supply and as well as the supply curve after removal of tax. Okay, what does the removal of tax have on the tax revenue and consumer expenditure? So when you remove the tax, what happens? Tax revenue will decrease. How much is the tax revenue before? So tax revenue is this area. No, this area is only tax revenue. Remember this box. This box is the tax revenue. So what is the area of this thing? 6 into, sorry, not 6, 8 into 60. 8 into 60 is 480. So tax revenue will decrease by 480. They are removing the tax here, right? So it can't be answer number 1. It can't be answer number 4. It can't be answer number 5. So I'll cut these off. 1, 4, and 5 cut off. Right? So answer number 2 and 3 says decrease by 480. Tax fine. Then consumer expenditure. What is the consumer expenditure earlier? Try to figure this out. So consumer expenditure before was this entire portion, right? Was this portion. This was consumer expenditure before. Can you all calculate that? So consumer expenditure 24 into 60. That is consumer expenditure before. How much do we get? Consumer expenditure before. Anyone answers? Numbers? 1440. Right. So consumer expenditure before is 1440. Right. So how did we get that? 24 into 60. So what is the new consumer expenditure? The new consumer expenditure when they remove the tax is this area, right? It is this part. It is 20 into this, 20 into 10. So what is the new consumer expenditure? That is 2000. How did we get the 2000? 20 into 10. So that is how we, sorry, not 20 into 10, 20 into 100. Right? So what happened to the consumer expenditure? Earlier it was 1440. Now when you remove the tax, it became 2000. So what is the change? Consumer income, sorry, consumer expenditure increased by 560. So the answer should be number 3 here. Decrease by 480 and increase by 560. It's a very easy question. If you all know the proper areas, if you all know what is the area of consumer expenditure, what is the area of taxes, I think it's a very easy question to figure out. So what you all have to do is go through the questions, right? Do the questions and come. Then if you all listen to my explanation, I think it would make things very, very much easy. Because while I explain, sometimes there is no time for you to do. Yeah, you will feel me a bit too fast. So please do and come. This is where we've stopped. We'll be doing the next questions from this point onwards, right? So that is that. We'll be doing it ideally next Wednesday. So, and also most teams have sent their question papers for unit number 2 and 3. If there's any team who did not send, I did really not check that, right? If there's any team who did not send, please try to send it as soon as possible, right? So the unit 1 papers, I've been a little slow in sending them because I had to edit and do some stuff. So ideally what I will be doing, I'll be sending the unit 1 papers as soon as possible, right? So I think I've sent 9 papers to you all. So I think there's 8 papers more. I'll send these stuff. Okay, right. So tudes and all will ideally go out today, right? For those revision class students who have not got the tudes, you all will be getting it by Saturday. Okay, so that's it for today. This time is only for today, most probably. From next class onwards, it would be 5 to 7. Okay. So guys, I don't really have time to answer questions because I have to give the Zoom account. If there is anything, we'll discuss the next class. Okay, see you guys. Bye.